Hey y'all, you are getting straight bummy realness today. Cause yeah, this is what's happening today. I'm home today, so this is what it is. I haven't been sleeping, that's the other part. My sleep's been really messed up. Like I didn't go to sleep today, excuse me, until about 9:30 this morning. Yeah. So and I woke up at I think like 1. No, it wasn't 9:30. I laid down at 9:30 and I started dozing off close to 10 and then somebody called me. So I didn't actually go to sleep until around 10:30, but whatever. So I got 3 hours of sleep, but and that's been happening to me. Some days I don't sleep at all. I just stay up and then I don't know, whatever. That's a whole other. Well, it's actually part of this video, but anyway, just to explain why I look bummy. Maybe you don't care, and if you don't care, then I appreciate you, but if you do care, now you know why, because I'm tired. But I wanted to record this video because I wanted to start what's the word, a segment, a thing. Yeah, I guess a segment is the right word. On Mondays called Mental Health Mondays. And so yeah, my plan is to record a video every Monday and just talk about different mental health topics and stuff. So when I started my channel, this was a big piece of why I started it, because this is a big piece of my life. So for you guys who are new and don't know me, hey, my name is LaToya. My channel is called Elle Nicole TV because my initials are L. My first initial is L. My middle name is Nicole, but I didn't want to use that name for a few reasons, so I spelled out the letter L-E-L-L-E. So that's what's up. But my name is actually LaToya. But for everybody else, I deal with depression, PTSD, and anxiety. Yeah. It's always weird for me to talk about this stuff because it's something I'm not gonna say I'm ashamed of anymore. At one point I was really ashamed of it, but it's just I don't like talking about it. I guess because people are judgmental and I don't want or need or like people's judgment. So to avoid it, I just don't share this stuff. But a big part of my intention with this channel when I first started it was to talk about this stuff because I wanted to help eliminate the stigma of it and to show people that mental health doesn't just look like the crazy lady that's screaming on the corner about somebody stealing her tacos or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not just or depressed person doesn't always look like, I keep saying lady because I'm a lady, so it's not, my examples are just, oh, all ladies have mental health issues, but anyway. But yeah, and depression doesn't always just look like the lady who stays in bed and cries all day. Like, it's so much more than all of that. Or anxiety doesn't always just look like the person that's freaking out and having a panic attack. Like, it's not always that way. So I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about this. My main reason for starting it now is I mentioned a couple vlogs back that I had an appointment at the VA. I was starting therapy for PTSD. And so it's been 2 weeks. It's been interesting. So I guess I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about my therapy, how it's been going. I put notes. I'm looking at, sorry, I'm looking at my phone because I put some notes in here, things I wanted to try to remember to talk about. I wanted to get into why I have PTSD, or I was going to save it for another video, or maybe I was going to say it now. I guess I could just tell you guys. Well, I have it for a lot of reasons. I have it related to childhood sexual abuse that I went through. I pretty much was sexually abused through almost my entire childhood. And then once I left for the military, I got into the military. I had an instructor at a school I went to who tried to sexually assault me. And then I had a stalker on my first duty station. And then I think that's it. Maybe I blocked out stuff. I don't remember. But yeah, so that's with sexual stuff. And then I have mentioned before, I had, or maybe I haven't mentioned it. I think I have. I have a lot of people that have passed away in my life, a lot of traumatic deaths in my family. And so I have PTSD from that and a lot of anxiety around people dying. It freaks me out. Dying doesn't freak me out, but just me worrying about people that I'm close to passing away is a legit, almost constant thought. And so I have PTSD from that. There's more. I just can't remember right now. But my depression kind of linked to the same things. And then anxiety. Yeah, all that stuff is kind of linked together. Usually they all kind of go hand in hand. Not always, but in a lot of cases they do. And then I also have some PTSD and anxiety around certain experiences I had while I was in the military. Not sexual related, just like military things. People that I know who got killed during the war. Patients that passed away that I worked with. Different kinds of stuff like that. My last 3 years in the Navy, quick side note, I was an EMT. I also drove ambulances, and so nobody goes to the ER. Nobody's in an ambulance because they just wanted to hang out on a Saturday. It's, usually life or death. And so, yeah. So that's what a lot of the PTSD stuff is for. Sorry, I just got a text. Okay, so part of what I was talking about the whole worrying about people and all that stuff, my grandma is actually in the hospital right now. And my family, we have a group chat going just because my aunts and uncles and everybody is doing like rotations to stay with my grandma at the hospital. So this is how everybody's getting updated. So they'll just post, what's going on with her today, what treatment she received, any results that she got. And so I'm just reading the update. Okay. So yeah, anyway. So yeah, I made notes because I wanted to kind of go over certain stuff. And this might be a ramble session. I don't mean it to be, and maybe they'll get better since I'll be doing it every week. I'm only 8 minutes in, so I haven't wasted much of your time yet. So, okay. I guess I'll start with... Well, I was doing therapy. I know in one video I mentioned, I think it was my second video. And yeah, my second video ever on this channel. And I made that video to explain, because I have a business that I was running and then I just kind of fell off the planet. So I made that video to explain my absence. And I know in it I mentioned mental health and how I was doing better from my first video, because my first video was, I was not in a good spot. And after my first video, I started getting help with mental health at the VA. I started seeing 2 therapists, actually. One for people with chronic illnesses, because as I've mentioned before, but if you don't know, I am sick physically. I have some stuff going on with my body. It's been a couple years. I've done tests for everything from like Parkinson's to lupus to MS, and was diagnosed with Lyme disease, treated for a year, and told I didn't actually have Lyme disease. And so it's a lot. But so yeah, I had one therapist to deal with people who deals with people who deal with chronic illnesses, and then I had my second therapist that I was seeing about the sexual abuse stuff. So at the point when I made my second video and I said I was doing much better than the first video, that wasn't a lie. I was doing better. But the thing about it is, right after I finished that video, both of my therapists left the VA. And one of them got a job, I want to say in a different department. Yeah. And then one of them left the VA altogether. And so obviously my treatment went right along with them. And that just compounded a lot of the stuff that I had going on. And so then it went from, and I don't, if you've never been to therapy, it's almost like getting in a relationship with somebody. You have to find a person that you mesh with, somebody that you feel comfortable with. Because think about it, you're telling these people a lot of personal stuff. And in my case, it was shit that I had never told to anybody, some of it. And so you need to feel comfortable with this person. And so when you actually finally find that person, in my case, two people, then it's a blow when that gets taken away. And so when they both left and, you know, the VA was like, okay, well, we can try to find you a therapist on the outside of the VA. We can find you somebody else. I was just kind of over it. And so I just didn't bother with trying to find a replacement. I just was like, whatever on that. And so now I've started back. I met with my therapist. So I've been twice, like I said. It's going to be a once a week thing for the next few months. And then, but I love the chick that I got. She's amazing. So I'm really happy with that. So I guess one thing that I wanted to talk about, and something that I learned in the therapy I went to for people with chronic illnesses, but it can still apply for, I've definitely applied a lot of those tactics, I guess, to deal with my depression because it helped. So if you don't have depression, be grateful. That's first, because it's terrible. Once I actually started getting into therapy and kind of finding out more about it and symptoms and things like that, I really realized that I've pretty much had it since I was a child. But given what I told you guys I was dealing with as a child, it makes sense why I would have it. Yes, kids can have depression, and I was one of those kids, but I didn't know that at the time. I just thought I was, you know, an introvert, which I am, but I was just quiet. I was a loner. I just, you know, didn't like this and that, but now I know what it actually was. I forgot the point that I was, okay, but yeah, so the first thing, one of the things I learned in my therapy for chronic illness was something called practicing self-compassion. And basically what my therapist told me was, because a lot of what's wrong with me physically, I think I've mentioned before about my hands. You see how they're kind of shaky. My hands shake. I have tremors in both of my hands. I have nerve damage to both of my hands. And so that means that on occasion, well, my hands are pretty much always hurting, usually pretty weak. And so sometimes they're completely numb. Sometimes they're just weak. They're never at 100% though. So that could mean something as simple as I could be on the phone talking to somebody and then my hand will go numb and my phone will just fall out. And I've had multiple people. I mean, people in my life now are used to it. But when it first started happening, people thought that I was falling down or something like that because we'd be talking and then they just hear all this noise. And then other times there's things where I cannot open jars anymore. I usually can't open bags of chips. I just have to cut off the tops because I can't pull them apart. Which really sucks when you're on a plane and they give you a bag of peanuts or something, because I can't open mine normally. Whatever. But yeah, so my hands. And obviously your hands are really important because you need them for everything. You need them to write, to tie your shoes, button your pants, drive your car, comb your hair, use your fork and knife, all that kind of stuff. And so it was really hard for me in the beginning to deal with this mystery illness because everything that made me, I felt like was getting taken away. And by that, I mean, I've always been a busy person. I've always gone to school while I was working. I started my businesses. I mean, at one point I was working full time in school, running my business and doing an internship. Plus, you know, just being social, dealing with my friends, doing all that, and volunteering because I was doing Meals on Wheels. I was doing a lot, but that's just kind of how I've always been, which I need to make a note to talk about that later. Hold on one second for another video. So you know how you watch YouTube videos and people are always like, I'll make a video about that another time. And then they never do, or, oh, I'll tell you about this, and then they never do. I wanted to to keep my phone with me. So when I say that stuff, I can make a note of it and remember to do it next time. But yeah, so I was always busy. And then to go from that to having to ask people to help me cut up my food, having to ask people to help me tie my shoes, it was a lot. And I used to beat myself up because between the pain in my hands and then I had severe fatigue to the point that I was sleeping 18, 20 hours a day easily. And then I was just in pain, my joints, my knees, so it hurt to walk. Sometimes I would just not go places. I mean, I would wait until I physically couldn't hold it anymore to go to the bathroom because it hurt me so much to walk to the bathroom. And so to go from being the person I said I was to this shell basically of myself, it was really hard. And so I used to beat myself up about all the things that I couldn't do. And what my therapist told me was I needed to start practicing self-compassion. Because she said, if it was your friend going through this, would you beat them up about what they weren't able to do? Would you tell them, oh, you didn't do anything today except sleep, or you only did such and such? And I was like, no, of course not. And she said, okay, well, why are you doing it to yourself? You need to be nicer to yourself. Be compassionate to yourself. She said, not to forget about the old me, but I need to let go of that idea and find my new normal, because I'm always going to feel less than if I'm always comparing myself to what I was, because I'm not that anymore. And that was a really hard pill to swallow, and it's still hard for me, honestly. 3 years later, it's still hard because there's times that I still beat myself up, and I really have to try to make an effort to not do that. But yeah, just kind of, so if I have a list of, let's say, 5 things to do, old me would do all 5 things. New me might do 2 or 3 things that day. And at first what I was doing was beating myself up, because it's like, you have 5 things to do, you only got 2 of them done, you know, you're lazy, and why didn't you get stuff done, and you could have done this and this. And she's like, you need to learn how to be appreciative to yourself for the things that you did do. Instead of being like, I only did 2 things today, say, hey, I did 2 things today, because realistically, with all you have going on, you could have done 0. And so I had to just try to change my mindset on that. And it's a struggle every day. I'm not going to sit here and tell y'all that, oh, now I'm just magically better and I let people help me. And no, because that's a lie. Well, it's not a lie, but I'm not 100% better. And so it's still hard for me. It's hard for me to accept help. Even when I'm, trying to hold multiple things and carry multiple things, and somebody's like, oh, do you need help? Do you want me to? No, I'm good. I got it. It's still a struggle. That's just how I am. I'm just not that person who, it's hard for me to take help. It's hard for me to take help. It's hard for me to ask for help. That's just how I am. But I'm working on it. So self-compassion is one thing. So if you're like me, try to work on that. Try to give yourself credit, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Instead of beating yourself up for all the things you didn't do or you can't do anymore, just try to look at, well, I can't do this anymore, but I did this today. Or I had 10 things to do, and instead of being like, well, I only did 4, say I did 4 things today. I got these 4 things done that I didn't have done before. So give yourself credit. And then that goes into accepting my new normal, like I said, because I'm not the chick that I was before. So finding my new normal has been hard. And it's still hard because there's times that, another thing happens, I overdo stuff. So in the times that I feel good, because a couple vlogs ago I mentioned I was going to take a nap and then I didn't get tired. So I got up and I washed dishes. That should have been enough. But because I felt decent that day, it was like, okay, well, let me do something else. But the downside of that is usually I end up doing so much because I feel okay. Then the next day I feel like shit because I did too much. So it's like this, always trying to find this balance of being productive, trying to take care of things, my house, myself, but then also being able to know when to stop and not to overdo it. And that's really hard for me sometimes because I don't always feel good. So I might have a week of feeling amazing, and then I'll have 3 weeks where I just sleep and I'm in pain all the time. And so it's hard to not overdo it because I don't know when I'm going to feel okay. It's not like I have, I'm trying to think of something that I have where, I don't know, but nothing about what's happening to me is predictable. So I can't tell you that tomorrow my hands will feel good and I can finish unpacking my office, because tomorrow my hands might not work when I wake up. Or they might be in so much pain that I can't bend my fingers, or my tremors might be so bad that I can't hold on to anything. I can't say from day to day how stuff's going to be. And so that's really hard, because you kind of can't plan for things. And so you usually have to stretch out. When I thought, I said a couple of vlogs ago that I wanted to have my house unpacked by the end of the month. I was giving myself January to get fully unpacked. January is over at the end of this week and I'm not done. And that was me being unrealistic with my time, my time frame, because I didn't know how I was going to feel. And there's been days that I felt great. And y'all saw, I said I've gotten my kitchen done, my living room done. A big chunk of my office is done, but my closet room, there's still stuff I need to get rid of. And so I'm going to have to stretch out that deadline. But part of that is me still just, one, not being able to know how I'm going to feel. And then two, maybe being a little bit unrealistic, because had I actually thought about it, it's like, okay, are you really going to be able to get all this done in that amount of time? So yeah, that's been hard. One thing that I also try to do that goes in really well with mental health, depression, definitely with my depression, I'll say the most it helps me is I have a gratitude journal. I've always been into journals. Oh, I wish I could show you guys mine, but I don't know where it is. I found years ago when I went home, when I was in the military, I went home on leave to visit. My mom gave me she found a box of my old stuff, and I had my journal in there. It was a Tasmanian Devil journal, because I used to love Taz so much. Actually, I could draw him from memory because I used to draw him so much. I don't have anything to write with, so I can't show you guys right now. Plus, my hand I can't hold a pen. Side note, another thing people always ask me, why do I always have such giant phone cases? I have them because even on the times when I can't hold on to something, like right now, I'm not holding this. It's just sitting in my hand and I can text and do whatever. So that's why. And I get silicone cases because they don't slide. And so whatever. But anyway, what was I talking about? Taz diary. Oh, I'm into journaling. I've always been into journaling. Obviously, when your hands don't work, journaling is not really an option anymore. And I guess I could do. So that was another reason why I wanted to start this channel. I started this channel, was to document obviously my life, but also because it's not always possible for me to write. And I guess I could record voice memos or something, but I think videos are cooler. I like them. And so, but I have a gratitude journal that I actually write in. I try to write in it every day, just at least one thing, one thing that I'm grateful for. But even on the days that I can't write, or it's not always limited to my journal, because I just will write or will just think about things sometimes. Like I'll be taking a walk around my neighborhood and I'll just think like, man, I'm so grateful that I live in such a beautiful city. I love San Diego. It's so pretty. I'm 15 minutes from the water, a couple hours from the mountains. But I love this city. And so I'll walk by somebody's house and I'll see a really pretty tree, like flowers and a hummingbird. And I'm like, I'm grateful for this moment. I know as cheesy as that sounds, but for you guys who don't know, I had 2 brothers pass away. And so they don't get to see the hummingbirds anymore. So I am grateful for stuff like that. And yeah, so I would suggest even if you're not a person who deals with depression, I would just honestly suggest for any and everybody, just try every day to at least think of one thing. And I usually do it I will usually do it in the morning. When I get up in the morning, because y'all know I'm not on social media and stuff like that. I'll get up before I do anything else and just think of one thing, whether I write it in my journal or I just think it or say it out loud. At least 3 things that I'm grateful for. If 3 is too much for you, then just try to do 1 a day. Start with 1. Every day when you wake up, think of something you're grateful for. Some days when I wake up, that's what I'm grateful for, that I woke up today. Some days that I wake up, I'm grateful that I live in the city that I do. Some days I wake up and I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my friends. Some days that I wake up, I honestly say I'm grateful for my health. Even though it's not A1, I know how much worse it could be. And so I would suggest just trying that out. If you don't do it already, you're going to notice a huge shift in in your attitude and just your ability to be able to get through your day-to-day life and kind of realize what's important and what's not. Just to be grateful for things in general. So I do actually take no, wait. I guess that's probably it. I want to talk about, sorry, y'all, my throat is being whatever. Talk about different things. Oh, I guess I just wanted to talk to you guys about PTSD and some of the symptoms of it. So a big one for me is what they call hypervigilance. And what that usually means is just you're always kind of on alert, looking around. I know that when I go out to places, I always know where the exits are. I'm always kind of watching where everybody is in the room. I always have a plan of if something was to go down, how I could get out of the space. Multiple ways if possible. And if there's only one way, then I know where that way is. And it's not even something I was conscious of. It's just how I am. And even I won't sit certain ways. If I have to sit with my back to the main entrance, I won't do it. And it's funny because a lot of my friends, they know. And so we'll go out to a restaurant or go somewhere to eat or whatever. And they already know where to sit because they know I'm not going to sit in a certain direction. So that's pretty funny. But I mean, it's not funny to deal with, but it's just funny and cool that they get it. Another thing that usually comes with it is, I forget the actual technical name, but how I mentioned about just being in fear of people that I'm close to passing away. That's a big fear of mine. Every time my phone rings and it's somebody in my family from home, my instant thought is, oh man, somebody passed away. And I know that's bad, but I've lost a lot of people. And so I get nervous every time the phone rings and it's somebody from home. I get butterflies in my stomach and I kind of answer the phone like, hello. And then when they, oh, hey, how's it going? And then I can kind of relax, but literally every time. And it's been that way since about 2006 or 7. So, another thing from PTSD, and there's different things because I know a lot of people think PTSD, they think war veterans, and so they're scared of loud noises. That doesn't apply to me because I wasn't on the field getting, bombs blown up around me. But I definitely don't like people walking up on me from behind. And that has a lot to do with the sexual abuse that I went to. And so, yeah, I don't like people walking up behind me. I don't really like people super close to me like that. I don't like people standing over me. So if I'm sitting down and somebody's standing above me, I don't like that. I don't like being in close spaces with people, especially guys. So when I go to the VA, a lot of times they have elevators, and it's really hard for me to be in an elevator with a dude that I don't know. If I don't have a choice, then I'm usually back in the corner because, again, I want to be able to see everybody else. So I'm never that person that stands in the front of the elevator and everybody's behind. That's not me. I'm the one in the back in the corner so I can see what everybody else is doing. What else? I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Let me see. What are we at? 30 minutes. I'm going to try to keep this at 35 because I'm at 29 right now. And my notes, a lot of my notes deal with depression stuff, and that's going to be another video. This one I wanted to talk more about PTSD. Okay, here we go. Symptoms of PTSD. Maybe not because my phone is being nuts. Come on. My Wi-Fi, that's why. Okay, agitation, irritability. I definitely have had that. Hypervigilance, what I was talking about with, always being on the lookout. Social isolation, absolutely. Kind of keeping to myself. But a part of that too is also from my depression and my health issues and me feeling bad and sometimes sorry for myself, honestly. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of the ones that they have on here. I thought it would be more, but... and I'll do other videos about this. This is my first one, so I guess I don't have to try to fit all of it in there, but I just wanted to kind of tell you guys what's going on and what I'm dealing with, and just start a discussion about mental health, because I feel like it's not talked about enough, especially among my people. It's, oh, and I have the, okay, so side note, I live in California. I've said that multiple times. Marijuana is legal here. And so my pen, that's what this is. And honestly, it's helped a lot with my pain management, because before it became recreational, I actually got my medical marijuana card, and it was suggested to me by one of my friends who is Jamaican, and they were like, hey, have you ever looked into smoking? And I said, no. But they were like, maybe you should check it out because it helps. And I kind of blew them off for a while, but then I really looked into it and was seeing a lot of the benefits of CBD and THC for certain people for pain management, which I obviously have or need help with. Insomnia, which obviously is an issue because I said I was tired, and anxiety, all of that. And so, yeah, it's been about 3 years now, and it's great. I love it. I have no complaints. If you're judgmental of people who smoke, this is why I wanted to make this video, and this is why I wanted to talk about this kind of stuff, because people typically think of weed smokers and they think they're lazy and they just have the munchies all the time and they're not responsible people and blah blah blah. This girl right here smokes, and I am not any of those things. Like, during the last 3 years, which, side note, I wanted to finish. I started my master's degree. I ran out of GI Bill money. I want to start back and finish it this year. But I have half a master's degree done. I've started 2 businesses. I've been full-time employed up until I got sick from the time I was 18. I pay my taxes. I do all the responsible people shit, and I still smoke. So if you have your judgments about that kind of stuff, just know that it's not just the Wiz Khalifas and Snoops, and those guys are productive too, so I shouldn't even, I mean, look what they're able to accomplish, and you know they smoke all the time. They're both millionaires. So anyway, I forgot the whole point I was making, but I guess just to say I wanted to make this video for this exact reason, to start the conversations about mental health, start the conversations about medical marijuana. That'll be a whole other thing, but I just want to talk about this stuff. I want to talk to other people who deal with these things. I want to give information to people who never have had to deal with these things, who aren't exposed to these things, because we live in a world now where you never know who you're going to have to interact with. You never know people's struggles, what they have to deal with. And so it's good to be able to have an open mind. It's good to be knowledgeable. Maybe not full on versed in certain things, but it's good to at least have an idea of what somebody's going through, or signs to look for, because maybe one of your friends is struggling with something or suffering in silence, because I was that friend for a long time. My friends had no idea what was going on with me. And so maybe me telling you this stuff will give you something to look for in your friends when you start to notice that your one friend who's always been really social and usually goes out with you guys when you go out once a month or a couple times a month or whatever, and now all the time your friend is like, no, I don't really feel up to it. And of course, every once in a while, no, you might not feel up to it, or, oh, I don't really have the money for it. That's legitimate too. But if it's becoming an all the time thing, then maybe you look into the bigger picture. Maybe there's more to it other than they just don't want to go out. So then you'll know what to look for. You know what questions to ask. Anyway, this video is 33 minutes. My goal was 30. And I moved that goal to 35 because I wasn't sure if I would make 30. So I think we're just going to go ahead and end it here. But please comment down below. Please share this video with anybody you know who deals with mental health issues, because I want them to follow this series. I want to talk to them. I want to meet other people like me, because I'm the minority when I go to the VA, because I'm a woman and I'm a black woman. And so I'm like this much of the veteran population. And so it's not always easy for me to meet people who are like me and have similar struggles to me. Not to say that the guy, just because it's a older white guy, we don't have a lot of stuff in common, because with these types of things, PTSD, depression, all that, the causes of it might be different. Like, I was sexually abused and had a lot of people who died in my life. He might have been raised by an alcoholic father. But the end result, the hypervigilance, the paranoia, the not trusting people, all that is the same for all of us. But I still want to meet other people like me. I want to put a face to this stuff. And so share it, please. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching this. I appreciate it. And that's it. Bye, y'all.